Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FoxieMoose show, where we break down awesome character designs just for you. So, as you can see, I have a new logo on the screen that I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to be using for the rest of my stuff. Because I really like it. It looks really cool. Anyway, today we are going to be breaking down our lovely character Ariza, the Hornbreaker. This is a character that was recently done by myself this week, and you'll be able to get the PSD for it over on Patreon, so you can break it down even further by yourself. But for today, we're gonna go down and break it down for you here on the show. Alrighty. So, where's my? Okay. So, like I said, we're gonna basically break this down, and we're gonna start with the gesture. Then we're gonna go into the body shape, then the shape language, and then why did I make so many changes along the way? Okay, so let's go in and just get started. As you guys can see, I'm getting a bit more comfortable talking to you guys about this stuff. So I'm having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. It's a lovely Saturday, so let's see how this goes. And I'm gonna try to keep this video to about 10 minutes, hopefully, or not 10 minutes, 30 minutes for you guys, because I know people don't really like watching long stuff. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, this is Ariza, the Hornbreaker. She's basically a grappler character that I wanted to create as if she were in a fighting game. So let's... Alright. So, let's actually go back and see where she started. So here we started with... let me get the red. So here we basically started with... making our own little character brief. I try to keep these designs relatively short, within like at least 1 to 3 days. So I try to get a story as quick as possible. So we have Tanky Grappler Demon with Spirit Horns and controls Spirit Fire. And here you can see that I thought about hands, maybe like some spirit hands, but as you can see in the final design, that's actually not there. They're gone. And I was actually having a really hard time with this because these are the references that I brought in. And you can see that a lot of it is like I got some ideas from Demon Vi, I got some ideas from Iron Tiger, from I believe it's Blaze Blue, some Zangief ideas. And then we had some motifs. The motifs, they were okay. Like, they were really cool at the time, but I didn't really want to move forward with them anymore after a certain point, just because they just didn't work out too well. They just weren't working. They were too, like, busy. These are some of the references that I brought in. And then this is basically, where's the other? I want to show you, like, where I started. Yeah, it's here. So I was starting with like gestures because I feel like the gesture basically tells the story better than the overall design. Like the gesture is a part of the design. So I was trying to get some poses in, really get like these like low crouching stances, but it wasn't quite what I had in mind because this character, in my head, the character isn't somebody that's like low to the ground. They're like looking at you from above, and they're basically ready for anything in a very like tree-like stance. So we went from here. These are like basically some of the silhouettes that I went through, and again, you can see more of these on the PSD yourself. I upload everything at the end of the month, so you guys can just explore, reference this video again. I'm thinking about uploading the files once I release like the videos, but We'll see. I have zero. I have one patron right now. One patron. One awesome patron. So thank you, patron. This silhouette, I wanted to mention this. This silhouette is something like I really liked, but I knew I wanted a female body shape. This guy is more like, he reads more like male. It does look really cool though. We might go back to that, like, you know, for a different character or something. And then we added like some square parts to the bottom of him. But anyway, once we got our gesture down, and that's what these references were for, we wanted to refine the gesture a bit more. We knew we wanted to go with this kind of like, this was the general idea of the character. And that's what we spent the whole first day on. And I even live streamed it. You can catch the live stream. You can see when I'm going live over on Twitter. So let's actually go into the actual gesture. So I started this small. And here you can see that I was like studying this like judo-like pose. Because out of all of the poses that I was like thinking of, it was like, no, but this character's more like, you know, feet planted, arms in the air. And I just couldn't quite get it. So I was like, oh wait, this is like, you know, similar to judo. So I went and got a reference for like a judo pose. And then I studied it, and then I basically did my own like spin on it, or my own interpretation of it. And here you can see, like, in this very rough stage, the key here was like this like flow line. That's what I was focusing on, this flow line. What? Where's my layer? Okay. Okay. I was focusing on this flow line, like right here. It's not on top. Okay. This flow line right here, where it was like going in this direction. It was basically like everything was kind of like leading from the head to that foot. And again, I chose that gesture because that's just kind of what I felt the character was. So when I imagined a grappler, I imagined a person that was in a really firm stance. So if we go up to the current version, we can actually break this down a bit more. Let's make a new layer. So let's talk about the shape language here, to where basically this character, I was going for a bunch of points. Let me get a better brush. I was going for a bunch of points, like triangles, and a bunch of squares. Because like I said, the character was very firm, and, you know, they were like a wall. They're not moving from that position. Like, you make one move and they're coming after you. So I was like, okay. And then to fit with the whole demon trope, that's where I wanted the points to be in. But I didn't want to make the character too aggressive. So I wanted to have more squares. I wanted to have dominant squares and less like, and more like accent triangles. So like the horns are like, you know, this triangle shape, or this like pointy shape. We have like the motif inside, like the design on the shirt is a pointy shape. The motif overall, the new motif that I made, is basically, it's a bunch of straight lines which come from the square, and then it's points. They lead into points. So it's a combination of the square, something like that. All right. So that was the shape language. And now just to talk a little bit about the size variation that I was going for. So if you were to basically pick out different points, I would say that when I was thinking about this, so the character is very top heavy, but I didn't want to make it too top heavy because they would have looked more like manly. So right now it's like a really good mixture of like feminine and like manly. So here we have like we have these big squarish glove gauntlet things. Um, and if I spent more time on this, I would figure out like what these things actually do. But for now, I just assume that they have like these flame propulsion, since she controls spirit fire. So she kind of funnels them through the gloves, or through the, I guess they're gloves, through the gloves. All right. So you have this big shape here. Sorry, this red is probably really, really bad. Let's just bring that over a bit. Let's bring that over a bit. Sorry, that should be a bit better. So we have these like large hands. So okay, we have our large call out. So now let's bring in, you know, the medium size. So I would say the medium size would be, you know, these horns. The horns are the next big thing. You know, they're the next big thing, the next up and coming thing on this character. And then all the small areas are basically like, you know, the clothes. The boots are small. They're a small shape, but they're large compared to the body, if that makes sense at all. So basically the way that I thought about this was that the gloves were a large shape, the horns were a medium shape, and then the clothes, like the body, is the small shape. And then from there, I'm like, okay, let me break things down into farther of, you know, let's do it again to the big areas. So that's where I take the whole body and I try to break it down into that large, medium, and small, or that size variation. And I'm trying to get away from the large, medium, and small thinking and get into more of the size variation mindset, because there's a big difference there. Not a big difference, but if you just word it differently, you get different outcomes. So, for example, instead of getting, you know, the large, medium, and small, that's the large, medium, small, you get size variation, where it's like you can have more than like one. Like, yeah, this is large, medium, and small, but size variation takes it to a whole new level where it's like, okay, let's add in, you know, more of these. You know? Where it's like, okay, now you have like really different, you know, sizes. So basically, this is like the simple aspect of it, which is, it's an amazing thought. It was actually taught to me by Keenan Lafferty through his YouTube videos. He teaches it really well. Go check him out. He teaches the small, medium, and large aspect, but what I'm trying to teach is I'm trying to teach the size variation aspect. So the size variation aspect. And I can do a whole video on that for another time, but let's focus on this. I think we're actually past the 10-minute mark already. So the last thing I wanted to touch on was I touched on body shape a little bit. Basically, instead of having, you know, instead of being like really manly, where it's like men have like this type of shape, you know, they have like that wine glass, or that they have like a really weird hourglass shape. It's more like bigger towards the top. But I brought it down to more of like the actual hourglass shape, to where it's still big at the top to know that it's a bulky character, but there's enough of an hourglass in there to feel feminine. And showing the hips really helps. Showing like these areas helps bring out like, you know, the sexuality of the character. And even if I added some cleavage there, that would help a lot. And then showing like this area, showing a lot of skin, basically, really shows like femininity, if that was the word. And then before, you saw that this character had really big, they were like really big hand-looking things in the original silhouette. If you look back to is it? These things are not organized. I'm sorry. I work with a lot of layers. Just because I don't like making. I like making mistakes, but I don't want to. I don't want to basically mess up the one layer that I'm working on. So basically, I'll duplicate to try new things. So you see here, it had like these really big hands. And then even here, I was thinking about the large, medium, and small aspect of things, where you have the large hands, and you have the. But in this case, I think I wasn't liking it because there were two medium shapes. Not to say it's a bad thing that there were two medium shapes, but they felt like they were competing with each other for importance. So, and I didn't like how it's like it's kind of like this equal distance. I didn't like it.